a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Roll call, please.
Weeks.
Here.
Thomas. Yes. Kifko.
Yes.
Bradley. Daniel.
Present.
Weaver.
Present.
Gilchrist.
Here.
Clark.
Here. Agenda item, approval of minutes. We have minutes from August 11th, regular meeting, August 20th, special meeting, and August 26th, special meeting. Would entertain a motion to approve the minutes when you're ready.
I have read all of them and I make a motion for the approval.
Motion by Councilman Clark to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Councilman Weeks, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Under petitions and communications, public comments, we have representatives from the MoDOT here this evening that would like a little bit of time with the council and the public to explain a revision to the railroad siding project. We'll turn it over to you, gentlemen.
My name is Troy Hughes, and I'm with the Missouri Department of Transportation. And I'm basically, what the project that we're doing is a design for a siding track for Union Pacific Railroad. The money that we're using for the design and environmental work was part of the ERA project's federal stimulus money. And the purpose of the project is for passenger rail service. Currently, there's not an area for freight trains to pull over to allow the passenger trains to go through. So the purpose of the project would be to construct a siding to allow the freight trains a place to stop and the passenger trains to go on. We did have a public meeting for the project on April 29th, and a lot of people may have attended that meeting. At that time, the project was going to start essentially where it is now on the west end, just east of the private entrance by the golf course. And then it was going to stop west of Highway 131, which is right here. Kind of through the review process, the Federal Railroad Administration, who's administrating the funds, requested that we change basically the turnouts, which will control essentially how fast a train can enter or exit the siding. Our original design, which was kind of the standard Union Pacific design, allowed for trains to enter and exit at 30 miles per hour. The new design will allow the trains to enter in 40 miles per hour. But essentially what that did is to accommodate the higher speed, we had to lengthen the area from where they're transitioning from the main track to the siding, which essentially pushed the project through the Highway 131 intersection and kind of more into town. And with the design, even though we're crossing Highway 131, the trains would not be stopped or blocking Highway 131. They would stop west of the crossing. And I also brought with me some of the design team, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Justin Moore, with Wilson Associates, working with MoDOT as project manager for this project. We've got two other tools.
Yep, I'm Brian Jelnick. I work on the civil design part of the project.
My name is Ted Hartzig. I do the environmental studies.
And so basically, like I said, tonight is just an opportunity to present what has changed to the project since we held our public meeting in April, and give you a chance for questions, or at the end of the meeting, or we'll leave them. We have some public response cards that people can fill out and submit any comments that they have. And Justin, I don't know if I
Yeah, no,
covered some of the,
thank you for the overview. I'll try to speak up so everybody can hear. I know you can't see this exhibit very well unless you're up close, so I'll kind of walk through it real quick. For those that aren't familiar with the project, Troy talked about the siding, and maybe not everyone's familiar with what a siding is, but it's essentially a 2-mile stretch of track, and that's the length that's required to have a complete unit train of roughly 110 cars pull off to the side and allow other rail cars and trains to pass by. There's a lot of congestion along this corridor, and so the existing track, which is shown in red, that will not be touched. That's to remain in place. The new track, the new siding will be on the north side at 20-foot centers. So I've got a, you can't see this, but the existing track will be on this side, and on the north, 20-foot centers is the proposed track. Alongside the track, shown in orange, is an access road, and that's just a 10-foot access road. And then just outside of that is a drainage ditch that runs along the track, and that's just to convey all the stormwater. And so the original project limits started here at this private drive at the west end, and then ended just west of 131 Highway, as Troy mentioned earlier. So again, we had a project, a public meeting in April, and presented the original design, which would include closure of 1450 First Road. And there would be some, pardon me?
Of the crossing at 1450%.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. We closed the crossing, so there would be a turnaround on either side of the tracks, like a cul-de-sac, if you will. So with the recent changes that Troy mentioned, we changed the size of the turnout and also the length. Union Pacific was adamant that we had 10,400 feet, which is a standard design for the siding, and that pushed the project further east. And so this intersection is currently signalized and has gates, and so all we'd be doing here is pushing through that intersection with the additional track and then modifying those gates. So the thing that I'd like to talk about, I guess, is the delay that we incurred. There will be some downtime, so when the train is using that siding, whether it's entering into the siding or exiting from the siding, it's estimated that the downtime of the gates would range anywhere from 4 to 9.5 minutes. So we like any and all feedback, especially from those associated with the volunteer fire department, any sort of emergency response, law enforcement. We do have some handouts. I only brought 20, not knowing how many people would attend the meeting tonight, but this gives a little bit of a background on the project and how it's evolved. And we also have this comment card. And on the comment card, you can provide your feedback if there isn't enough room, or if you have questions. My contact information and Brian's contact information is on here. You can either call me or email me. And we'd really like to get comments back by September 25th, if at all possible. So I'll leave that information at the table if that's okay. And then any of those that are interested, please take it, look through it, and provide comments and feedback. So,
Do you want to speak a little bit on the construction schedule funding?
yeah, I think.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, the money that we received is for the design and environmental work, just basically to lay out that the project's feasible and get a good idea of how much it would cost. So at this time, there's no identified money for construction. So we don't really have any kind of timeline of when it would get built.
Is it non-negotiable that the siding has to be on the north side? The reason I'm asking, our industrial park area is soon to become a certified site is on the south side. And a train track of any kind on the south side would definitely be an enhancement for this community.
Well, there's several constraints on the south side. The impact would be to the building at the golf course, or the former golf course would be impacted. The city's sewer lagoon right here would be impacted if we try to construct it on the south side. And then We also had wetlands in the area that would be impacted. So that was predominantly why we chose the north. And then, and I don't know if you guys want to add to this, but a siding would not serve an industrial park, so it doesn't detract or you know, add a positive to an industrial park.
If I may not miss this, but would the siding be on the present right of way, or would they have to extend that right of way?
They would have to extend the right of way, and on average about 20 feet.
Yeah, so the track itself would be, again, 20 feet. The existing right-of-way, the total swath is 100 foot, so 50 foot from the center line of the existing track. So anything beyond the 50 feet, which would include predominantly the grading of that ditch that I was talking about, that would require the additional acquisition. So average 20 feet, some places there is an acquisition at all. Other places, just a 5-foot strip. So it kind of varies based upon the topography of the ground and the grading.
Well, we got a business, Tractor Students going to be in town that's going to get affected by this. I mean, how much of that property, I mean, their building's right close to that track,
Which property is that?
right inside city limits on
The good ones.
131.
Oh, it is, yes.
We actually met with him earlier today, since he wasn't part of the study area before. And you're right, I mean, I think in his property, it would be a 15-foot take that we would be getting closer to his building. And this is, you know, based on preliminary design, we haven't finalized everything, so it could be hopefully only less, but I mean, potentially it could be more once we.
I guess they would be well compensated for that 15 feet.
Well, you know, I think the official line is fair market value. Because there's always a difference in what's good and what's not, so.
Yeah, that would be 15 feet.
Yeah, we figured in discussion with him that there would be 20 feet left between the edge of his building and the new right-of-way line. So.
How did he feel when he was talking to you about it? When you talked to him, I should say?
Well, I think he was absorbing it all. I mean, because that's really the first time that he's had a chance, and we left a comment card. And so, I mean, they're gonna kind of think about things and provide comments, so.
I think Troy is, that's 20 feet between his building and the right-of-way line, not necessarily the track.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's got to make sure.
Yeah, so there would be the right-of-way line, and then there would be the drainage ditches, Justin was explaining, and then a 10-foot access road, and then the tracks.
The road is going to be closed. Is he? Or the crossing is going to be closed? Where does that go on the north side?
It's way over there, yeah, way up.
Yeah.
1451st.
Yeah.
So the crossing will be
On the other
closed.
side.
There would be a turnaround on either side.
Yeah.
Nobody uses that road.
Well, I'm sure there's some. And the reason that we'd be closing is because if there's trains parked there, it'd be, essentially closed anyway.
Which is the road that leads into the city's water reservoir?
Took us past that.
Yeah, it's actually not shown on the map, it's
actually
further.
further out, okay.
Yes.
You got a question there?
Yeah, the green, that's wetland, and it's a
Yeah.
different color, that's why I was asking, where was that? Because that's where that, well, I didn't know if that was a branch or if that was the wetlands, so I was just wanting to clarify.
Yeah, this is here.
It's probably related to a stream or what color occurring type wetlands, so it's a little.
Other questions? Thank you very much for your time. Troy, do you have anything else?
No, I was just gonna say we'll leave the flyers if anybody wants one, and And then the comment cards, if anybody would like to send in comment by that.
One other question. Since we do have an industrial park on the south side, how difficult would it be at some future point if we had someone who wanted to have a railroad access spur on the south side?
Off of the main line?
Off the main line.
You know what, I think Justin would probably be best to answer that question. The question was, how difficult would it be to get a spur off of the main line?
Off the main line, since the other side is on the north side. So how difficult would it be to bring a spur off of the main line into this area, industrial park or somewhere that would get?
Yeah, it'd actually be favorable to have the siding on north, simply because there's no conflict as far as the operations.
So it would be much simpler than to have a spur off the main line coming south.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that makes sense, just because you've got, new siding, and then you've got, where exactly is the industrial park?
Right
there,
Okay. I see, and what's nice here is you've got, straight track, you can have a switch or a turnout,
Yeah.
and you want along this tangent section of track, so, yeah, it should work well.
Okay, that's all. Yeah. And once you explain what the siding was going to do, it made more sense to put it where it's at.
I was with the understanding, when we looked at this in the past, was that with a switch or branch, that you needed the two mile siding. Is that not correct?
Yeah, the two would work independently of one another. So, the siding is going to serve all the traffic, going through the corridor.
What I'm asking was, and we talked in the past about a spur coming off to the business park. It was always my understanding that we needed two miles of siding to be able, off the main track, to do that. Is that not?
I don't recall that discussion. I don't know if that was.
Was that just between you and UP discussion, or with?
Railroad, I couldn't tell you who.
I think now with the siding being constructed, it's probably maybe taking the place of that earlier discussion. Now you're putting a regular dedicated siding in, where before there was no talk about a dedicated siding.
So that was the question of why, if the siding being on the north side had any bearing on the business park.
I don't think it would. There will be some typical offset, if they're gonna put an industrial park, and there's gonna be some standard offsets between these opposing switches. But, correct me if I'm wrong, that's probably gonna be the only determination on where that industrial track can shoot off the main line.
Yeah, I can't speak on Union Pacific's behalf, but they've got certain standards requirements as far as like signals and the design, the track geometry, the offset that you spoke of. It's, unless, I take a look at maybe the future plans and I kind of work through some of those issues. It's difficult for me to commit. I don't want to commit one way or another.
No, I wasn't wanting commitment. I was just asking if I was understood correctly, if you did have to have 2 miles of siding, you could not take a spur directly off the main line. You had to have a siding track to do that. Because I remember when we were looking at that, we needed to be 2 miles.
I do know some standards that they require that off of the line. I don't know if this area falls within that region where they require that. So,
Thank you.
yes.
When are you guys trying to expect to get started or try to start on this?
Yeah, we don't really know. Like I said, the funding for this was the ERA stimulus funding, and the thought at the time was that there would be more funding packages possibly following. And right now we're not really seeing that, so we don't know.
So there's possibly just may not even happen for another 5 years.
Oh, yeah, I mean, or another 20 or 30. I mean, 5 years would be quick in our terminology. I mean, probably, once we got money, it would probably be, I'd say 2 to 3 years, you know, before, you know, once we got the money identified, before we would probably be ready to turn dirt.
To start construction.
Yeah, because, I mean, these guys have done a great job, but we're really only doing preliminary design. I mean, so we would have to finish the design, buy property, and all that stuff.
How much is the study?
I'm trying to remember, about 500,000, I would say, 600,000. So.
Any other questions? While we have our experts with us?
Thanks again for your time. Thank you. Please give us information.
Appreciate your candid answers.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you all.
We're gonna try to disassemble and we'll be as quiet as we can, so we apologize for any help.
Okay, moving on with the agenda. Oh, any other comments, public comments on any topic? Yes.
My name's Debbie Hopkins, and I live on Fifth and Market. And people that live next door to me, their house has been red flagged, which I don't know exactly what that means. I know they can't live there at night, but you hear the doors slamming at night. And the house and the yard is a disaster. It smells like mold. They have no sewer line. They have, I think they have water, but they don't have electric or gas. It's an eyesore. They have cats that have kittens every year, and there's cats running all over the place. They don't want people parking in front of their house because they have a dead tree and they don't want it falling on your car. I mean, I don't see how they could have insurance on the house, the condition that it's in. There's holes, there's animals going in and out of it. I don't know if anything can be done, but I've lived here for 11 years. Every year you have to call for them to cut the grass, for them to clean up their yard. Usually they end up cutting the grass. They don't clean up the yard. They get fined $50, they pay the $50 fine and leave. And I just don't think that's right. It's an eyesore to look at every day and to smell.
So that was Fifth and Market.
Yeah, it's a White House. It's where Carrie Nations gave her speech off their balcony. But it's,
Historical value.
yeah, but it's awful. So, but can someone tell me what red flagging means, and do they have a certain amount of time to fix it, or?
What'd you say it was?
Red flagged.
Red flag.
That, from what I understood, they was staying there. Well, then they was told they couldn't. They could only be there between 6 in the morning and 6 at night. But they still come. Someone's over there at night. I don't know who it is, because they're supposedly staying at the music store at night.
So you're saying that they do occupy the residence the majority of the time?
Now, I can't, I don't know for sure because they leave their truck parked up there, but I think they walk back there because I hear the door slam because you can't shut the door without slamming it.
Okay. Red flag means that they have no working sewer.
Okay, so, I mean, can that just go on forever? Or do they have to have a certain amount of time to fix it?
I don't have an answer for you tonight, but I will get one.
Okay,
Okay,
okay, thank you.
thank you.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
Isn't there a code, like a city code for how things are supposed to stay looking?
You are correct.
Okay. Surely it's better than that. Because I mean, it's trashy. I mean, when I look out my front window, it's horrible. And the houses around there are very nice houses. And then you've got, you know, they just keep piling more and piling more and piling more. And it's like, you know, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to get anybody upset, but it's getting to the point where there's going to be some bad neighbors. So.
Not to put you on the spot, but would you come to the assumption that it's a health hazard?
Oh, yes, definitely, yes.
And if the city could have like an inspector go in and see what the inside is like, because a couple of years ago, she told me that someone had broken in their house. And I asked her, you know, did you call the police? Well, she didn't want to call the police because she doesn't want anybody to go in and see the condition that it's in. I mean, they have stuff piled up on the windows, stacked, and I can't imagine.
Which should be a fire hazard.
It's my understanding that code does not allow us to go into the residence. Our codes deal with mostly what's outside. But,
But if it's unsafe to live in?
well, that's where we have to draw the fine line.
Okay. And I have pictures on my phone if you want.
Okay, well, I'll be in touch with the code enforcement person tomorrow, and we'll get that ordinance out and comb it for what we can do to get it corrected.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Public comments? Moving on with the agenda, item B, approval of mayor's signature for the brownfield assessment application and the consent for access to property form as presented by Ms. Brandner with Johnson County Economic Development. Would you like to address those topics?
Sure. I didn't know if everyone had a copy of the consent to access form. Not the Hawaii, not to be confused with the other one.
Tracy did.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go ahead and hand you that. I'll make copies, so if you don't want anything. There's also a map of the 26 acres that's on there as well. Okay. So the first part of this is the application for the brownfield assessment, and the reason, as we spoke back in May, the reason why we're going through this is so that we continue to check the boxes on the Missouri Certified Site Program. As part of the Missouri Certified Site Program, you have to have an environmental assessment completed. And so you have to have that done on the same acreage for which you're applying for the certified site, which is the 26 acres. So you want to turn to the last page. This is also the same acreage that we had to have the ALTA survey completed for. So everything has to be consistent in that application process. So if you turn to the last page, you'll see the aerial map with the Union Pacific Railroad main line identified, and then the 26-acre Holden Business Park, and that would be the same amount of acreage that would be applied for the environmental assessment. That is also the same acreage that is being requested for your consideration, Mayor and City Council, for signature on the consent to access form, which is also attached to this. JCEDC is the applicant. We've actually done these a couple of times in Johnson County, but the owner has to allow access for the contractor that's hired by DNR eventually to come in and do the assessment. So that's kind of that in a nutshell. If anyone has any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
So motion of the board sufficient to authorize the execution of the ordinance?
and just the authorization to have the mayor's signature placed on the
One
consent
thing
agenda.
on here, it says, is there any reason to believe the property is contaminated, hazardous substance, so forth, and it's got marked unknown? I thought that was clear. That is known, that there's no hazardous substance.
And what they're talking about is third-party validation of the environmental clearance. And so between the time that they closed the monitoring wells for the Martha Rose chemical site, which was in 1999, and today, we're assessing that gap in time for this property. Unless you have some other environmental assessment that was done in the last 18 months that gave clearance to that. And I don't know of anything that has accomplished that task. But what we're doing is assessing that time frame between when the EPA closed the chemical site in terms of the monitoring wells and then today.
And there had to be another assessment. Sometime there'll have to be another assessment
Another assessment for what?
for the hazardous substance on the property.
I don't know of any hazardous substance on the property, but this is the process to look at that, if I'm understanding what you're asking me.
You know, what I was saying, I thought we were clear on that. And now it says unknown, well, so it would have to be assessed again sometime in order to get it unknown, no.
Yeah, that's what we're applying for, is for that free assistance for MoDOT to come and do that assessment. If we knew it was clear, then they would deny our application. You knew there was no work required, I guess.
So it's really for the period after 1999.
Right. Yeah. We have all the documents related to the Rose chemical closure and all of the process that they went through, EPA went through to finish that up. So.
Any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the brownfield assessment application and the consent to access the property?
Also moved.
Councilman Nitko, motion. Second by Councilman Rader. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you for coming with us.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Chamber of Commerce update. None?
I'd like to make a couple comments. The Holden Fall Fair was a pretty good success. And they're the sponsor of that. And I think it was one of the most successful, good entertainment. And the little guy that sang was absolutely outstanding.
Well attended, good weather.
Yeah.
Good entertainment. Main Street update. All right, liquor consumptions. We have 3. The first one is Lark Halsey Wedding Reception on September 26th from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. The second one is Jeremy Knox, October 3rd, 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. That's a wedding reception. And the third one is Sharon Manford birthday party, October 17th, from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. Do we have a motion to approve those 3?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilman Clarkin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Thomas.
I don't know, I haven't got my invitation to Sharon's party yet.
Not till October 17th.
Which one? Tradition.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is Laclede Gas Company project. Larry Miller, street maintenance superintendent, is going to give us an update on that.
About 2 weeks ago, I had a gentleman from Cave Gas by the name of Alex Sammet come by and we met. He provided me with a couple of maps. Cleve is now the provider of natural gas for the city of Holden. Starting in September, I'm going to put this map, I need to have these back because they're sensitive. They don't want to get them out for errors and stuff like that. But the stuff in red, starting in September, if the maps are color coded, the maps are coded in red, which is old steel, and then a purple, which is a coated steel, and then a blue, which is a plastic. Starting sometime this month, they're going to be coming to the city of Holden and updating their supply system. All the old steel is going to be replaced with new plastic. This is more just an information. They're wanting to get this out to the public because there will be gas interruption. They will be notifying people with tags on their doors that their gas will be shut off, why they're replacing the lines. Some lines will be replaced. Some lines will just have new plastic injected through them. So probably when they start this project, there'll be an influx of crews and people coming into our community to do this. So,
What did you say the blue was?
the blue is plastic.
The blue is already plastic, and then the red is,
The red is the old steel, which is the priority that they're going to repair right now. That's the first phase. That's the first stage of this project. It's all the old steel.
It don't go down the middle of the road, that's what they're
So I'd say it goes down the side of the roads.
saying. What's that, to go down alleys or something?
Yeah, that was the first time, 2 weeks ago when I seen that map.
Man, I was thinking, you know, maybe if they went down the road, it'd help us pay.
But anyway, so when they start showing up, like I say, they're gonna be putting stuff on people's doors, they'll be shutting gas off. So this is more of an information meeting, trying to get it out to the citizens, what's going on and what's gonna be happening. We'll leave one map at City Hall, and then I'll have the other map with me. So when the citizens come to a councilman, hopefully we get something in the paper, asking what's going on and stuff like that, then you guys can look. I have 2 contact numbers for right-of-way representative and a manager. So if there is an issue, we do have a direct number to get on. So, anybody have any questions?
For the benefit of the city,
Where are they headquartered?
They are headquartered in St. Louis. And a lot of the people that are going to be doing work for them are going to be contractors. So you may not be seeing representatives from their company. They are on the St. Louis side and do not have any offices in the Kansas City area. So the gentleman informed me that most of their people that will be doing the work here will be contractors.
Any questions? Thank you, Larry. Larry? One stays in City Hall.
Sharon, you want to keep that one? I'll take this one.
Sure. Okay, next up, equipment lease purchase proposal. Fire Chief Ralston, you want to step forward, please?
Yeah, the fire department's wanting to do a lease purchase, or if you guys want to finance, kind of do it with a budget. For a new thermal camera, our thermal camera's older, we only have one, we run 2 trucks, we're trying to put a second one on our second truck. The first bid was from IBT for $11,800, the second one was from TG Technical for $8,650. When I had first talked to him, he said $8,700, so that's what my bids went out for. On the lease purchase from Government Leasing, which I do believe is who leased the dog for the police department, and they said we were pre-approved. The $8,700, we would put $1,900 down. They would charge $2,018.60 in interest for a payment of $244 a month for 36 months. If we go through Kansas State Bank, which is where we lease purchased our last equipment purchase for the fire department with our cutter spreader. They said we were pre-approved for $8,700 with a $1,900 down, for a total of $1,862.31 for 4 annual payments. Total interest would be $649.24. So I didn't know where the city was as far as price, where we had the bank. I just wanted to know if we could do like where the city financed the fire department and redo the budget. If we did that, we could cut out the interest of $649.24 or $2,018.60. If we did the $1,900 down, I took $800 out of this year's budget. We could do $2,000 payments for 3 payments. The equipment all has guaranteed 2 years on the stuff. Technology has changed a lot over the older one, and it would give one on each truck. So,
What do you do?
thermal imaging camera is when you have a smoke-filled room, is one good application we use it for most of the time. You go in, it sees through the smoke, and it gives you an image of who's sitting here based on heat temperatures. Other things you can use it for is like in car accidents or missing persons. The newer technology, you can just put your hand on the wall, and when you remove it, it stays there for quite a while. And you can actually see how long ago, you know, if you're in a car wreck, you can actually see your imprints on the steering wheel and stuff. If you got out and started walking, you could trace footprints and stuff. We use it for search and rescue a lot, and all the interior stuff we take the camera with. But right now, we only have one. I'm trying to get 2.
But if I understand what you're saying, they're working this in within the parameters of the fire department budget.
The lease purchase, I'm not gonna take the whole $8,700 out of my budget this year. I would take $1,900 out and put in it right now, and then we would either go with one of the 2 lease purchase programs, or if the city just wanted to flip the bill for it, we would just mark my line item of $2,000 lease purchase off each year as paid. I'm just thinking you would save, the department would save $650, the city would save money, that's more equipment to buy labor, if the city did it. If not, we could go through Kansas State Bank and it costs us $650.
The city would be fronting the $87.
Yes. Yes.
That's really your request. Well,
I would prefer it because there would be less interest paid.
right.
Because for the city doing it, there would be no interest paid, which would be $650 down the road we could use on something else.
My recommendation to the council would be to go with that recommendation. The city is in a situation where they could front the fire department the money to save them interest.
What could happen tonight is the council should pick its recommended option, but we're not going to have a deal if we come back with an ordinance resolution approving this agreement and authorizing our FEMA plan for call operation.
How often would you do that?
Okay, if you go to a fire at your place and we have a second fire, the second truck goes, there may be nobody at the first fire inside the building, but the second fire may have somebody. I have no way to get the equipment from one place to the other.
How often does that happen?
You never know.
Well, in the past year.
Call back to back,
Yeah.
probably 40 times, but I'm not gonna say that you need a camera. You may need a camera on all 40.
40 times.
Where you're at one call, before you ever leave that scene, another call comes up? Sure.
I wasn't aware of that.
Because you don't know what you're getting into, because you may have medical, I may have the first out truck with a camera on a medical call will fall. The second truck has to go out to the fire, it doesn't have the camera.
Would you put this piece of equipment pretty high on your priority list of needs?
It's up there. I mean, we do use it, we use it quite a bit. There's the newer technology, like, the newer camera gets a little bit more sensitive for like car wrecks and stuff. Missing persons may be a little bit more sensitive than the older camera. I think our other camera's like the 2000 or a 99 model. Technology's changed a lot in that time period. We have actually demoed the camera side to side. Huge difference. HD TV versus, yeah.
Can we afford it?
Yes.
But you would like to put it pretty high on your priorities.
I would, because if you have somebody in a house that has smoke in it, you can't see it. With the camera, you can see right through the smoke because it's all based on heat. If you're laying over there, smoke filled, we can go right by you and never see you. With the camera, you see it, you're going to go look a little harder.
I can kind of testify to that, I've been on the fire department for many years, that you can walk right by someone and not even know that they're standing there, and or anything being there. I see camera being some big use. With you, you're gonna have this budgeted out on your budget plan, that's what you're planning.
If we went with the city doing it, what I would do is wait till the end of the year or see what I had left over in my budget. If we had over $2,000 left over this year, we could do one payment this year. And then the first of the budget next year, just mark that line on and off. So I would actually knock the year off of it. If the $2,000 isn't there through the year, then we would go 3 full years.
So what you're asking for is the city to authorize the purchase of the $8,700 camera, which is going to happen next month or the year, right? Correct. And then the rest of this would be an internal budgeting thing between your department and the city and how you're paying it back.
Correct. Or if they don't want to do that, we can go through Kansas State Bank.
I understand. I just want to make sure that this option, though, the city is going to be committing to and pursuing this in its next meeting ordinance or
On the mayor's recommendation, I would make a motion that we draw up an ordinance or resolution to purchase this piece of equipment for the fire department.
At the city's.
in the sum of $8,700.
In the sum of $8,700 to be paid back out of the fire department's budget. 2 to 3 years.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? I'll second that. Second by Councilman Parker.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
1 no. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, next item is.
One thing, we didn't have a question on that, I'd just like to ask one question. Can the fire department get by without, over that 3-year period, without the $8,700? Is that gonna?
We won't be out $8,700 out front. I would be out $2,000 per year.
For 3 years.
For 3 years.
For 3 years, it's be 6 out. But you can.
Right. I can afford to lose $2,000 versus $8,700 today.
Over 3 years, it's a big deal.
Okay, next item is discussion of city leadership regarding stormwater project direction. There's been a lot of discussion within the community lately by different groups that the stormwater is a high priority for the community and has been for many years. And I think it's kind of risen to the top as far as a priority. All of the conversations that I have been a part of, the meetings I've attended, it's indicated the city is in a position where they need to provide leadership to the different stakeholders that have a lot to gain in this. Those stakeholders obviously are the City of Holden, Main Street Organization, and many, many residents within the community. My question to the council tonight is that, well, first of all, let me comment. Most of you are aware that in 2006, the city had a study done to get a start or a handle on what the problem was.
That was an assessment. They just identified the problem.
Correct. That was a starting point to address the problem. Step 2 never took place. Nothing was ever engineered, so that we really don't have a direction on where to start, what, you know, the priority within the community is as far as addressing the problem. Obviously, we need to have an engineering study done. If the city is serious about stormwater, we're at a point where we need to think seriously about, do we have the engineering part done so that we know where we need to go? The engineering study is going to cost some money. Where is the money coming from? Well, we've been told that there are grants out there that would help the city accomplish that. Is that something the council wants pursued so that we can take step 2 to get an engineering study done so that the city at least has a handle on cost, total cost of addressing stormwater?
Like a preliminary engineering study, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Go ahead and appropriate the money to.
Well, I think the city needs to look for grants and other sources of revenue to pay for it, because we're talking several thousands of dollars.
Have we ever done anything with the CenturyLink settlement, with the $45,000? Would this be a good place to earmark that for? And I don't know, we need to find out, and I think that the plan is in place, it has been for a long time.
Or an assessment, yeah.
The assessment.
Yeah, the assessment, and the next step would be for that engineering study.
Right.
And I'd say we're looking at a pile of money there, and we don't have a choice on this thing. Our choice is, we've got to do something about the stormwater, or we're all gonna, there won't be any lines out there for us to even wash down the drain with, so. But we don't have a really choice on that, and on that comprehensive plan, I think in that, I would want to work within the parameters of the comprehensive plan. And because it's already in place, I don't think we'd want to spend a lot of money to get another plan in place when we already have it.
Yeah. But I think a preliminary engineering study would be appropriate.
And I'd say that sure, I'd be, if there's any grants out there, but in the meantime, we might want to hang on to that CenturyLink and keep that in the back of our mind that we want to maybe allocate that to this, because I think this is one of the really high priorities that we have.
Well, I'd like to offer a motion to the effect that we do look into some available, or try to find some available money in which to fund a preliminary study. I think that's where we're at, if you're asking, and I'd like to make a motion that we do pursue that.
Okay. Yeah, once we look for the money to fund the engineering study, then I think we need to take bids from engineers to get the best bang for it. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Nipko. We have a second by Councilman Clark to proceed with exploring funds to pay for an engineering study. Question.
Do we have any meetings coming up with the people that we met with 3 or 4 weeks ago?
No, that was an independent, non-aligned meeting.
Okay.
That was not attached to any group or whatever.
But I was thinking that you had talked to him after the meeting and was going to set up a time that he could talk to the council about finding money and what it would cost and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of the discussion that we're having right now to get a direction.
And probably the Economic Development Committee should be in on this also. That's kind of the membership on that. And I think you and I are the council, at least.
Yeah.
The council represents that. But that's kind of a good cross-section
Another
of people
stakeholder.
that I think would have something to put into this. And
Well, on your sheet that you got where I say City of Holden, that's the council.
Yeah. So
So
what about the whole economic development group? That's a separate group like Main Street. There's an economic development.
Main Street is,
Yeah, there's another group that's called the Economic Development, Holden Economic Development.
and who are they aligned with or associated with?
The city of Holden
City of Holden.
and the Chamber of Commerce, your representatives on the Economic Development Committee is Sam Rader and Doyle Weeds, myself, Nipco, and sits on that committee.
Yeah. So they are included in
Yeah.
the 3 groups that I've listed here.
Yeah.
Those individuals are listed in the 3 groups
But
that I listed.
there are some other members on the.
Yeah, there's members.
There are
Okay.
members
It's
that are not
a,
city
it's a
council.
standing committee for this purpose.
Okay, if you could get those names to me, Councilman Nipko. Also residents,
Yeah.
just general residents of the city of Holden need to be in on that conversation also.
Yeah, I'll get you a list of them.
Thank you.
The,
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of proceeding with funding for an engineering study, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. I think that's a giant step forward.
You know, I would move that we also don't spend that Central Lake settlement until we,
Well, it won't be spent, believe me, until the council approves it.
I would make a motion that we earmark that.
Well, it's not on the agenda tonight. We'll have to put that on the agenda. Okay? Discussion of Chapter 54, ordinance, business licenses, Councilman Nipko.
You got a copy of Chapter 54, business licenses in your packet this week. I don't know if you've had a chance to look it over or not, but it needs a major rewrite. There are so many things in there that just are not enforceable, number one. Number two, there's conflicts. Right at the very beginning, it says licenses shall be issued, they're non-transferable, not be prorated, and no matter what, whatever reason. And then further back, there's 4 sections that talks about how to do it. Another place that talks about having to have fingerprints and pictures of certain applicants. Another one that requires the city clerk to review the books and records. We're talking business books and records of applicants. That's when they happen. Another one that talks about licensing the delivery drivers of the people who deliver goods to Holden. So I think we need to take some time and come up with some ideas of what we really need here when it comes to our business license ordinance.
This was done in 1988.
Yeah, I think it's time for a rewrite.
Would you be willing to be on the committee?
I would
do that.
Definitely.
Any other volunteers to be on that committee? Councilman Rayburn, Nipko, and Gilchrist. 3 is enough, I think. Okay, appreciate you volunteering.
Yeah,
We'll give you a couple of months to do that and come back to the council.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for volunteering.
You're welcome. I'll even share that. I couldn't believe some of the things that we had in this thing.
It's interesting reading, to say the least.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Next item, discussion of the Holden Police Department. Councilman Gilchrist.
Yeah, a couple of months ago, I come out and said that they were on the Kent hiring private firms to do police work. I brought that on. I read several articles, a lot of small towns doing that, generally pretty well satisfied. But in the interim, I've talked to some people in law enforcement who I respect, and they've indicated that probably wouldn't be a good thing to do to the town since it tends to lose its personality kind of when it loses its police force. But I still think we have some problems, and Mr. Doyle mentioned last time we were talking about it, a lot of it's prosecutor, and I would like to see a committee form, or maybe the whole council, and start maybe talking to some officers in a closed session on things that could be done, maybe to improve, and why are the prosecutors trying to people? Why are they throwing this stuff out? Is it something we're doing, something they're doing? Just to sit back, and I hear people complaining about law enforcement all the time. And maybe it's not just Hogan, I don't know, but I think it's incumbent on us to look into it and see if there's anything we can do about it. And my suggestion would be that we form some kind of committee or the whole council and start talking to some people in an official way.
In my opinion, though, if we're going to do that, we need to have the whole council involved in every step of that aspect. Because what you're asking is to disband or incorporate the police department. And
what now?
So you would move that.
Yeah, I changed it.
You want to look at private security as
No. I said that I had talked to people who I respect in law enforcement, and they've said that's probably not the right way to do. But there's surely something we can do.
Okay, all right. I was still going off the first
Yeah.
go around.
And I have no problem with the whole council.
But if there's anybody that knows, that has ideas of ways to improve things, it'd be the people that's on the police.
Well,
I think the council would be a good idea to talk to.
So we should have a closed session with individuals on the police department to get their opinion on what's going on.
And maybe in a closed section, we could have a representative committee go talk to the judges and the prosecutor.
This is what I had to ask, is that legal of us to do behind closed doors?
We're going to be talking personalities.
The sunshine law would say you can
I don't
discuss
think
personnel,
personnel.
specific personnel issues, or
Policy
policy
don't have
issues.
it. I don't have reason to say.
Because the ramifications, what I think we would try to be doing is like individual cases, we're going to be trying to bring out an individual case and talk about it. So we're walking through the steps, but necessarily cannot be put out into the public at that time. So we can like follow the steps of proceeding with the police.
I think I'm worried you needed to review perhaps with the prosecutor and then the certain police personnel also about how the enforcement is taking place.
Yeah, something isn't working for my home. Hear about thefts.
Well, we've got one officer here tonight, and I'm sure he would have ideas on things to improve, or maybe maybe a change or something.
Another option?
Yeah, another option.
Would be to have, if you pick, like you just picked the maximum committee, rather to start with a 3-person committee to sit down, so the officers can start and then go back if there's specific issues, personnel wise, that you go in closed session.
Well, the only problem with that is I think there's a lot of varied views on the council on whether things are getting done properly or not. And that's not the right order. As best as they can be done. They may be done properly, but we're not kidding.
But that requires bringing a case out into the open.
Yes.
Going through it.
I'm going to suggest that we form the committee, and that committee meet with the police chief first to get a handle on what the concerns or complaints are, and then see what the next appropriate step would be. Is that a starting point?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
It's something.
All right, I'm going to appoint a committee of 3 that will meet with the police chief and have a discussion regarding the personnel of the department. And that committee will be Councilman Weeks, Councilman Clarkin, and Councilman Gilchrist. And we'll give them a month or 2 months. I don't want to cut it short, but is that
Make Jim
logical?
chairperson.
Jim would be the chairperson. and report back to the council. This is September and November at the latest. If you're ready before that, fine. Is that agreeable?
Sounds good.
It's a good starting point. Okay. We don't need a motion on that. Right. And the committee has been appointed. Okay. Under mayor communication, I don't have much. Just a reminder that the tractor pull, I don't want to steal Larry's thunder here, but tractor pull is September 19th. The tractor pull committee met their pledge goal of approximately $9,200. And Laura may have more to say, but that's coming up real quick. Under ordinances and resolutions, bill number 070216, discussion and first reading of an ordinance supporting the future designation of the incorporated area as an enhanced enterprise zone and declaration of an area defined in the attached analysis of like conditions as a blighted area.
This is a necessary ordinance for the first item you had to your agenda, Ms. Brantner.
Yes. This follows Ms. Brantner's presentation earlier. So, again, that was ordinance 070216. Any comments or discussion?
I got a few that I would like to address to this matter, if I can.
Sure.
I got a few questions I'd like to ask you.
Sure.
On, this is gonna be a 10-year deal, correct?
The enhanced enterprise zone, once in place,
Yes.
is 25 years.
25 years. Will this affect, because you're wanting to do a blight,
Mm-hmm.
is that gonna affect the property taxes of any sort of residents and or the businesses?
No.
Say one of our local businesses need to take a loan out, because you're saying they're building this blight here on Main Street, and they're gonna get a loan, it does not affect that building ever whatsoever.
No. We didn't look at any individual properties. We only looked at, as you've heard before, we only did the public improvements in this blight analysis, as defined by the statute. So no individual properties were looked at.
It's not gonna hurt the equity at all.
No.
And, so it shouldn't hurt the tax thing, because we're going by it,
No.
so that lowers everything, so that didn't even hurt the tax. Okay, that's pretty much everything I got.
Yeah,
Good question.
when this thing first came out, I wasn't for it. And the reason I wasn't on account of that word blight, but in looking into it, I found out that I've done a 180 on it. I personally would be in favor. And I think if we don't do it, we're ruined, probably.
I think for the public, you are meeting a legal defined definition needed to comply with this. We're really not finding or using an independent call that this is blight as you and I would traditionally think of it, but in.
That was the best use of a word.
Yeah.
One could say that, but our legislature used it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would happen after that 25 years? We'd reassess it and either stay in the blight or?
Really doesn't have anything to do with the assessments at all. The enhanced enterprise zone is just, that's the arbitrary number of years that the legislature said you can have that in place in terms of an incentive. So really, once the blight is done, there's no.
Is that from the point somebody buys it, or is that from the point?
At the point of approval by the state. 'Cause
So
they
if
have-
it sits there 15 years, there's only 10 years left on it.
Correct.
As far as any property.
That's right.
So another question I would have, I'm going to direct it towards yourself, Mr. Griffiths, means you are a business owner, and say you want to, how would you feel about doing this? I mean, because it's activity going to affect, it may or may not affect your business, and it's
Putting
true.
your business in the business park.
Yeah. So if you were to build a business park, would you want it enhanced?
Personally, I wouldn't much care, but from what I gather, that's a big deal to
Well,
the corporation.
if certain stipulations made, as I understand it, then there's some relief from state expenses in the form of taxes.
This purely, once enacted, is a tax abatement program. This is just,
Not even 100%.
not even 100% tax abatement program.
So-
It could be, depending on the investment, but it's only on real estate. So, typically, our businesses have a combination of personal property and real estate tax base. Typically, it's only on the real estate.
As an abatement.
Correct.
So we're not getting anything now, so we'd still get something anyway.
Right.
In 25 years, going by me, I'll be 107 years old.
They won't be 105.
I hope you can run it mile.
I remember that thing. That's an important part, I can remember that thing.
I make a motion that we approve the first reading.
I second.
Mr. Mayor, you have a motion and a second.
We have a motion by Councilman Nipko
And
and a second by Councilman Chris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And next meeting, we'll have the second reading.
Correct. Okay, reports of committees and all other business. Councilman Nipko, do you have any comments, reports, committee comments?
None at this time, sir.
All right. Angie? Okay. Councilman Weeks?
Yeah, I missed the water board meeting, so you said it. Yeah. There was a small problem with the billing. I caught it, addressed it towards O&M, and they sent it back to me. I just didn't get it out for all, but it's taken care of. Fishing board, we need to start looking at buying cars or something. We need to get on this ball and get it ready. We need our name put on a list. If we're going to decide to do it, there's usually a year waiting list. We need that step because we're spending way too much money trying to repair 2 cars that we need to get rid of. And it's saving the city a lot of money. I just dispatch calls for the year so far is 1,929 calls for the year. It's quite a bit. Just a small breakdown. We've had 44 warrant arrests, 537 reports taken, and 128 arrests out of them. So, I mean, they're doing something. But once we get this committee, we can get it broke down even further than that, and actually see what's all going through there. But that's all I got for now.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Court?
I have very little. I have all my volunteers in place for the tractor pull. All the arrangements seem to be made. We're going to have one more meeting to make sure that we're all on the same page and everything's a go. But at this point, everything looks good.
What was that meeting date?
14th. 14th. September 14th. 6:30.
Would it be possible to post that meeting on the Olin's Facebook page as a reminder, please?
It's a tractor pull committee.
It's a function of the city, isn't it? Isn't the Facebook page making
Yes.
citizens aware of
It
the...
includes, other than city council, it includes the Missouri State Tractor Pullers Group, the Missouri Brush Pullers Group, the council. But we can post it because the council is involved.
Thank you.
Councilman Gilchrist.
Nothing.
Okay. Councilman Rayburn.
I'm on the building committee, and as far as I know, the buildings are still standing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Councilman, again.
I might ask Larry, since he's here tonight, were you able to get any bids for replacing the doors at the restrooms at the
I
city
actually
park?
talked to one gentleman, he was supposed to give us bids and turn them into the city hall, but I haven't talked to Sharon to see if we received any bids on it.
Well, on that note, I contacted Hyman's and we went out and measured them, and he thinks that we can order the doors at a reduced savings instead of replacing the whole door jamb. We're trying to get doors that match the hinge pattern. So if we can do that, that would probably save the city probably half of what new doors and jambs would cost. So we're working on it, we're getting closer.
What doors are they?
It's the doors on the restroom at the city park, on the fence, on the outfield. They're steel.
They're tearing them.
Well, they're rusted out, the hinges have come loose from the framework of the door.
That it? Okay. Approval of appropriations. I saw. Okay, as noted, after the packets were sent out, there was $3,366.88 in additional expenses to the city, and you should have a copy of that in place. And if anyone wants to see the late bills, they are up here. And so we're going to add these to what you got in your packet for a total package that we'll be asking you to approve tonight.
I want to say as one of the people on the finance committee that I appreciate Sharon and Linda's work in getting the material to us as we asked you. You did a very professional job.
Okay, thank you. Well received.
And there were five of the council members at that finance committee meeting.
That's right. Any questions on appropriations? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I shall.
Motion by Councilman Chris. Is there a second?
Much like that.
Second by Councilman Nipko. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Motion for adjournment. Councilman Barton, second by Reaver. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.